I was looking for a way to heal that trauma and make it better. It's just that at that time, I didn't have the right coping skills. So the coping skill I used weren't healthy coping skills. It actually made it worse, not better. But, I was looking for a way to make it better.
Behavioral Health Integrations podcast strives to inspire the next generation of mental health and addiction specialists. Our aim is to continue to raise awareness and encourage collaboration in the mental health and addiction industry so that it will continue to thrive. There are numerous approaches to treating mental health and substance abuse issues. On this show, we take pleasure in showcasing the diversity of these approaches used to improve the lives of others. So without further ado, your host, Jacob Menig.
What is up, everyone? This is Jacob Menig, host of Behavioral Health Integration Podcast. I am extremely and super excited to, again, have Sonya Johnson on the show. It's going to be a very exciting episode, and I am very honored again, Sonya, for you being here. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I love the intro. That was super cool.
Thank you. Some people think
pumped.
It's dorky, but
no,
yes, that's the best way to put it, getting you pumped.
Yes.
So for my audience, I'm still learning about you, and I'm just kind of curious. I'm in Minnesota right now. Where are you from, or where are you right now, I guess?
I am in sunny, hot Sarasota, Florida. The weather right now it feels like 105 degrees. So it's very hot and sunny down here, but I love it. I'm a Florida native, so.
Okay, cool. My parents just built a house in Florida, well, off of the Keys. Have you heard of Duck Key?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have.
Yeah. So I love visiting there every chance I get. But again, it's the same as Minnesota. We both get really bad humidity. Well, actually, I think you guys probably get it worse, but
probably so. It's like they say it's like a hot blanket when you walk outside. It kind of feels like you're in the sauna, but you're wearing a wet blanket at the same time.
Yeah, so true. So true. So yeah, just I guess tell my audience a little bit about yourself. What's going on in your life right now? Married with kids?
Oh, that noise was my cat who is knocking stuff off the table right now. So please don't mind if you hear loud bangs and noises. Everything is okay, I promise.
It's all good. My audience are big pet lovers.
Okay, cool. Well, she might make an appearance in a little bit. But
Even better.
All right. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself today. So hello, everybody. My name is Sonya. And as I said before, I'm from Florida. I live in Florida, born and raised in Florida. And I work for NAMI of Sarasota and Manatee counties. And I don't know if you've ever heard of NAMI before, but NAMI stands for the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And it is the largest grassroots peer-led mental health organization in the nation. And I just love it so much at my work. And the reason I love it so much is because everybody that I work with is a peer, meaning that they have lived experience with something. So they've all been through something in their life. And to some extent, they are in recovery, and recovery looks different for everybody. And so the way my recovery looks may not be the same as somebody else's recovery looks, but we're all supporting each other on that journey. And that's what I love about it so much. So I'm the program coordinator of a program that's very unique to NAMI. And that program is called the Parents for Parents program. And so essentially what we do is we support parents who are navigating the child welfare system. And that is part of my lived experience, is navigating through the child welfare system. The most difficult thing I've ever been through in my entire life for a multitude of reasons. And so getting to use my lived experience to help parents who are navigating the most difficult time of their life has really been the most rewarding and challenging thing that I've ever done so far in recovery. And so aside from my professional life, which I just love my job so much. I've never had a job as fulfilling as this, but I'm 5 years clean. And so I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And then I'm married and I have 2 boys and a cat who's right here next to me.
How old are your boys?
So my oldest just turned 16.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
My youngest is 14. And so they are growing up very, very quickly, man. Time flies.
Wow. That's awesome. So this is why I love asking people about their jobs. I could go with the highs and lows, but I want to ask you something like really interesting. Like, I guess it's like the best part of your job, but is there like a certain moment in that job where you just fell in love with the moment, the people? Was there like a special event that really happened that stays in your heart working where you work?
That's such an interesting question, actually. So I would say the most rewarding part, right, is to see the parent work very hard and finally make it to that point of reunification where they
Yeah,
get reunified with their child. But I think the part that I this may sound weird, but I think the part that I like the most is getting to be with them in their moment of darkness. Like
mm,
right when that court hearing happens and they're just so broken and they're so alone and they're really struggling because it's like a really bad moment in anybody's life. But to just be there for them during that time without any judgments, like I'm not worried about what happened or what everybody says you did. Like, I just want to be there for you. And so for me, like, I think that's my favorite part, even though maybe that sounds kind of weird.
no, it's a beautiful moment because like that's where they need you the most is just that love and the empathy and I can imagine in those moments, is it usually like the judge says something like, "Oh, you have so and so to do to be able to get your child back"? Is there like is that what it is? I'm kind of new to like this type of work. Is it usually like, oh man, there's situations worse off than it is, and they have to do so much to even have a chance to see their kids again? Am I right, or is that
No, you're absolutely right.
okay?
And it's such a challenge because so the thing is it's the child welfare system. And the
Mhm.
challenge is that when a parent gets separated from their children, typically it's because they're already experiencing their own challenges. So whether that's substance use or domestic violence relationship or mental health challenges, or they are unhoused and they're living on the streets with their child or in their car, or whatever the challenge is, right? Like this is what brings them into the system, but now they have to do a
Yeah,
certain list of tasks to be reunified with their children, and that means then they have to obtain housing, get a job, go to classes, take drug screens, do visitations. Like there's just so much for them to do on top of the fact that they already have challenges they were already facing. So
yeah,
it's very, very difficult. And the most important thing in the world is what's hanging in the balance, and that is their children, their birthright, right? So
yeah.
it's really tough.
Absolutely. And does the court like make requirements of like also you need to be substance free for like 2 years or 3 years, and they constantly give them UAs to make sure they're like clean in a way? Is that accurate?
Partially, it is accurate that they do have to take drug screens and have clean screens and sometimes drive all the way across town with little to no notice that you have to go drug screen today. And maybe they don't have a car to go get there, or maybe they're working and they can't get there by four
Yeah.
o'clock or whatever the
Yes.
barrier is. But there is no like
Yes.
per se clean time requirement that they have to be clean for a certain amount of time, but they do have to demonstrate sobriety, and so they have to show that they're on the right path.
Right. Right. I do have a few clients in that situation, and I guess I can relate to this just by hearing their stories, but a lot of the barriers is just a lack of empathy from the judge's point of view or the attorneys or even the POs that should be supporting them and helping them is that they require so much from a client who again is trying to be in recovery, trying to maintain a job where the stories I hear get me so angry where they literally make the individual or the parent get drug tested every other day. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like they
Mhm.
are trying to support their family, the kids, be off drugs and work, and then you're gonna make them get UA'd every other day.
Right.
Sorry, that just gets me like really just fed up and angry. And
Oh,
I don't know if you've
no, it
experienced similar
gets me
things.
too. And I'll tell you, this is the thing. This is what bothers me is that how do I know, right? Like, let's just say that I'm a case manager or attorney or whatever. How do I know what somebody needs better than they know for themselves? Because
Yes.
even when I was in my own mess, I knew what I needed to do. Like, I knew what I needed. I obviously needed to stop using. I needed to go to the doctor and get prescribed medication. Like, I needed to find support. I needed to obtain housing. Like, I knew what I needed. But when somebody's in the child welfare system, they have these people that come into their life that fix them, right? And they
Mhm.
fix them by prescribing them certain tasks that they need to complete to be better. And then when they do these said tasks and they get better, then they are good enough to get their kids back, right? But
Right.
the problem with that is that if that person doesn't feel that's what they need and that person doesn't believe that's what they need to do, then these are only just a task or check boxes to mark the contract that they did the things to prove that they're worthy enough to get their kids back, and they don't actually get what they really needed, which was community and belonging and purpose and support and wellness tools to be able to maintain that lifestyle. So that's what gets me fired up.
No, absolutely. And I just feel like it's a lack of empathy. They're not looking at the human being themselves. And
Yeah.
I think it really is stigma. I'm sorry, people. I think judges and lawyers, they look at them like you're a stupid fucking drug addict. Take your fucking medicine and do what I say. You're beneath me. That
Right.
pisses me off the most. And I'm sorry, people. There are people like that. There are judges like that. There are attorneys like that. It's just a part of this world that could be evil at times, and that just like burns me up inside. But they got
Yeah.
more, so it's just frustrating.
Well, I think you're right. It really is the stigma. And it doesn't matter what system of care you're in, whether you're in the child welfare system or the school system or the medical system or the behavioral health system or whatever
Yeah,
system you're in. There's always these people who feel like they need to fix other people and prescribe a pathway to another person without what you said before, empathy and understanding and being in their shoes, and they kind of look down on them in a lot of ways. And so that is frustrating because the people that we look to help us, that we need to get resources and concrete supports and tools from, aren't always helpful, and they don't always provide those
absolutely.
things. And even like needing supports, like needing housing or needing funding or needing, diapers or wipes, like there's also that whole like gatekeeping thing that happens. So, as I was saying before, what led me into this kind of work is my own personal experience in the child welfare system. But my experience in the child welfare system started way before I actually got into the child welfare system. My experience, my challenges started with trauma. And I always like to tell people that because I think that is really the beginning of where everything started for me. And that's why when we were kind of talking before and saying about the things that frustrate us, I think a lot of times, like when you see the problem, when you see the issues that somebody is facing, and when you see that they have, gone to jail or been incarcerated or entered into the child welfare system, or they have, for whatever it is that they're struggling with, like when you see those challenges on the outside, oftentimes what you don't see is the things that led them to get there. And so that's where the trauma comes in. And oftentimes it's trauma. For me, it was trauma. And so growing up, I went through a lot of trauma and I didn't know how to cope with that trauma. And I didn't know how to handle the pain and escape the pain that I was going through. And so the only really solution that I found when I was younger was using and drinking and partying. And that's what everybody was doing, back in that day when I was a teenager going through those challenges. And so I thought it was like very normal for people to drink and to use and to party. So I thought it was very normal for people to do that. And so I just, did what I thought all teenagers were doing. And it worked in two ways. So it worked in the way that I was able to escape the pain, and it also worked in the way that I was able to fit in and feel a part of and have a sense of like freedom and kind of feel like an adult as a teenager, and so it worked in a few ways. But, because addiction runs in my family and because I didn't have any other coping skills or tools, it was just like the perfect environment and the perfect setup for me to become an addict. And so, and how what people don't see is what leads people to have that experience, whether it's this child welfare system or criminal justice system or the behavioral health system. But what leads people to that is trauma.
I guess this kind of goes into your story, but so like you said, you grew up in Florida. I guess you had an emotional impact over the divorce of your parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So when I was a kid, my parents divorced when I was about 8 years old. I'm an only child. And so I lived a very kind of easy or privileged life where I had everything that I wanted. I thought I would get everything that I needed. And I didn't really know about challenges or anything like that until my parents got divorced. And then everything really changed after that for me.
What was the hardest aspect of that? Was like splitting time between your mom and dad?
Yeah, I mean, no, not really, because I did see my dad, but I didn't spend a lot of time with him. And, I used to think when I first started telling my story that that wasn't that big of a trauma, but it really was, just because everybody else went through, everybody else's parents got divorced doesn't minimize the fact that it was still very traumatic. And it was something that I had to heal from. It broke my family apart. And I really struggled because I was searching for a male figure in my life after my dad wasn't in the home anymore. But actually, the male figure that came into my life was a predator. And so he took advantage of me. And he was the first person that ever gave me drugs. And so when I was talking about trauma, kind of that's what I mean, that was the trauma that started the substance use.
And did she have any idea what was going on?
No, she didn't know what was going on. And I think that also for her, she didn't really want to believe it. You know what I mean? So you don't want to believe that people that you care about are bad people, and that they would hurt your children. And the person that abused me, he gave me a lot of attention. He played an active role in my life. He was a fatherly figure, but behind closed doors, he was giving me drugs behind my mom's back and sneaking me cigarettes and keeping secrets and then using those secrets as a way to take advantage of me later and then want me to keep that a secret. You know what I mean? So she didn't know any of it was going on. It eventually did come to light, and then they eventually did separate.
Okay. And then, so like you said, that was the event that maybe started the root cause of your addiction due to the trauma mixed kind of with the divorce and everything.
Yeah. And I think it was a lot of factors, right? It was the environmental factors, everybody around me that was using. And I thought it was normal, drinking alcohol, smoking weed, I thought that was normal. And then also addiction runs in my family. And so I had genetic factors, but I didn't know that until I got older, till I got in recovery. Come to find out, there's people in my family that are also in recovery. I never knew that until now, and then additionally was the trauma. And so essentially, I had the perfect storm for an addiction to begin. And so when I was using to cope with trauma, it just immediately, within a few years, I was very much addicted and had become an addict per se.
Well, it's difficult too to even know at the time because, like you said, in some cultures, your community, your neighborhood, your family, it's normalized. It's normalized to smoke some weed, drink some alcohol. It's the common thing to do to have fun. But there's also another aspect where, especially younger children and teenagers, they use it just to escape. They use it to heal. They use it to numb the pain that they experience from certain traumatic events.
Right. And that's the thing too, is that our minds are very powerful and I was looking for a way to heal that trauma and make it better. It's just that at that time, I didn't have the right coping skills. So the coping skill I used weren't healthy coping skills. It actually made it worse, not better. But, I was looking for a way to make it better.
And through my experience working with individuals in treatment centers, we try to take that shame away because they put a lot of shame on themselves or on the child, part of them, or when they were teenagers, they're just so shameful and angry, where I try to help them move through that shame and get through that shame and help them understand. It's no, you were just a little kid. You didn't know any better. You didn't know how to be happy or to escape. So you used the only thing that you knew. You almost have to look at it as a good thing, as a way you had to do that to survive.
That's right.
And that needs to be honored.
I agree with you. And I think that that is one of the things that's helped me to release myself from shame is just knowing that the choices that I made back then and the things that I did back then were because of the options that I had. Like I didn't have a lot of options. I didn't have a lot of resources. I didn't have a lot of tools. And so I'm not surprised that I made the choices that I made because I was making the best choices that I could make at that time with the options that I
Yes.
had, and so it helps to release you from some of the shame when you recognize that.
Yeah. Did you ever have any like also resentment towards some people throughout your life over the things that happened, which maybe made it worse?
For
The addiction
sure.
piece. 'Cause-
I mean, yeah, I
yeah.
definitely did. And that propelled my addiction for so long. Like, I was mad at my dad for leaving and not being in the picture. I was mad at my mom for making certain choices. Like, I was mad at everybody, everybody. My first boyfriend, I was with him for 4 years. He passed away of an overdose and he died. I
Yeah.
was mad at him for dying. I was mad at my next boyfriend for abusing me. Like, I was mad because I lost my first child. Like, I was angry at
Yeah.
everything and everybody and the guy that abused me sexually. Like I was mad at everybody. I blamed everybody for everything. And that's why I used. But
Hmm.
when I got into recovery, like I had to work through those things because my parents made, just like we said a minute ago, the choices that they made based on the information they had. And at that time, those were the best decisions that they could make because of their
Yeah.
own upbringing or their own trauma or I mean, everybody's doing the best that they can out here. And so finding acceptance in that has really helped me so much to not be resentful because my resentments aren't helping anybody. It's not making anything better. It's
Right.
like they say resentment or anger is like giving somebody else poison.
Poison or yep.
How does that saying go? Like,
It's something with like you drinking poison it, but expecting the other person to die or wanting the person to die.
exactly. That's what it is. Yep.
That's the thing with like deep therapy and in the like psychotherapy world is yes, as adults, like trauma, like using like parents traumatically abusing a child. Yes, that happened. And ultimately, like the end stage is like getting to a place of like forgiveness and understanding like I'm an adult now. I gotta take responsibility in healing like my inner child, getting through that and just accepting and forgiving and then moving forward. Doesn't mean you have to do it
Exactly.
right away. It is a process. It's a
Hmm.
process that I feel needs to be honored through you and your inner child for those experiences.
I agree. And also, I agree with you about the process thing because sometimes, like, there are people that have been through trauma and they
Yeah.
accept that it happened and even like allow that person that hurt them to still be a part of their lives. And so I think
Right.
sometimes initially anger can serve you because you got to cut ties in order to heal. You have to break away from that situation. And so it is a
Yes.
process. And it's okay if you're angry for a little while, but eventually you got to get to the point where you find acceptance and forgiveness, not for them, but for you. Because if you don't forgive them, then you're letting them still control your life, even if they're not a part of it anymore. That's why we have to forgive other people so that we can let ourselves off the hook.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that really upsets me with, and again, people, I have nothing against AA recovery, but there's times where like AA meetings or old school treatment counselors will skip that process. And I think some at times, not all, but some will push a client faster than they need to go through that forgiveness piece to get on with their life. Or like you just said, forgiveness does happen for you or is meant for you, but you do not have to do it right away. That
Right.
is your choice to do. And it's almost, in a sense, healthier to take time to really think about it and get through that process rather than just skip through it and get it over with. Because again, that's not honoring your soul, your human spirit, or all the traumatic experiences you went through. It's a process that like, needs to be taken seriously with respect to your younger self and to your adult self.
Yeah, and to the younger self, I love that you keep talking about the inner child because one of the most healing things has been like me accepting me, right, as the adult that I am today and going back and adult Sonya is going to go back and give little Sonya all of the things that she needed
Yes.
when she was younger, that unconditional love and
Yes.
acceptance and support and belonging and comfort and healthy touch. Like
Yeah.
all of those things that little Sonya needed, like big
Yeah.
Sonya gets to give to her today.
That's beautiful. And that's such the truth. And And for all you out there that want to get into that kind of work, there's a lot of like good YouTube videos too on that, like mindfulness and just visualization about like processing the inner child. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any on the top of my head, but I'm sure you know some. And
I do actually.
uh,
Yeah, I'll tell
uh,
you one. I'll tell you something. So you can just actually envision this on your own.
yeah,
And so if you just close your eyes and
mhm,
you think back to your very, very first memory as a child,
mhm,
and you envision yourself doing whatever it is that you were doing in that first memory, and think about like, what are you wearing? What does it look like around you? Who are you with? How are you feeling? Are you sweaty because you're playing outside? Are you wet because you're swimming in the pool?
mhm.
Are you cold because you're playing in your room? Imagine that moment and then think about what was happening in that moment. Was it something bad? If it was something bad, then think about the adult you, who you are right now, coming into that moment, picking up that little child in that memory and putting them on your lap, and then asking them, what's going on? And then the little child tells you, I feel hurt or I feel like I'm abandoned. And then you tell that little child, I'm here for you. I love you. I'm never going to leave your side. And then picking them up and carrying them away in your arms.
That's,
Yeah.
I
I
love
love
it.
that
I
one.
love it. And like, I'm like visualizing that myself right now. Oh God, it is such just a beautiful thing because like that's just what we need, you know. And
Mhm.
my therapist put me onto this really good audio book. I forgot what the term is, but it kind of goes something like this, where you think about something that happened to you in the past. A lot of the times, it's a person that harmed you or did you wrong or whatnot.
Mhm.
And you think about that person, you think about the moment, and you get as angry as you possibly can. So you actually go with the anger. You get angry at every reason why you're upset with this person to the highest level. And then when that's done, you stop and then you envision yourself outside in the skies looking at the stars and gaining the awareness of kind of where you're at in the universe with those stars. And then when you're done with that process, you look at the person that harmed you and you give them love.
Mm.
Whatever that may look like for yourself, you give them love. And I don't know if that's in a way of like you forgiving them. I wonder if it goes with the concept of like hurt people. So it's
Mhm.
just like, you know, you're processing it and you're looking at the stars. I don't know if it's also meant to like make you seem like small in the sense of like the universe, but then like I said, you just give them love. And through my experience, like that, I haven't been doing it long, but it has been helping me out a little bit along the way. So
Yeah, I love that. And you're right, like hurt people hurt people. And I think that's really important. Like when we were talking about our resentments before, to
yeah,
understand that, or people that are happy, they don't, well, maybe they might hurt you, but not intentionally like hurting you.
right,
Like hurt people hurt people. Healed people heal people.
right,
And happy people don't run around and talk about other people behind their back or betray people. Like we just
yes,
don't do that, like it's the hurt people that hurt people. And so if you recognize that somebody else hurt you because they were hurting, then maybe it
yeah.
helps us to have a little more compassion for that.
100%. I love that compassion and empathy. Now, I'm kind of curious too, because I always love this part of the story as well. I don't know your treatment center experience, but sometimes people go through one and they're fine. Sometimes people need to go through 20. I don't know. Was your experience like a switch, like a light bulb? Like, wow, I have it. I get it, to the fact that I think I can go on the right path now. I think I have the tools. I guess in your own words, can you explain that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Just a moment.
actually. So I've only been to one intensive treatment center. However, I've been to jail many times. I've been to detox many times, and I attempted recovery several times before I actually like stick and stayed, right?
Okay.
And I truly believe that it was related to my level of being sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Okay.
and being ready and willing to surrender to something greater than myself, because I tried for so long to do this all on my own and to stop using on my own will. And that thought, actually, like thinking that I could stop on my own will, kept me very sick for a while, because I wanted to stop and I actually thought that I could. I just thought that I didn't want to bad enough, which that really made me feel like I was a bad person and a bad mom. And, what I learned is that when I'm using, I don't have control of the ship, right? Like the ship has control of me, and I'm doing whatever I can do to get more. And that's all I'm thinking about is getting more. But the person I am today, like I've never done any of the things that I did when I was in my addiction. Like since I've stopped using, like I've never robbed anybody. I've never left my children behind. Like I've never stolen from my mom. Like I've not done any of the
Right.
things that I did back then, because that's not who I was. That is who I was when I was using. And that's not me today. And so I totally derailed from the question, but
No,
I
it's
did
fine.
I did attempt recovery like many times before I was finally ready. And when I became ready, like I was ready to take suggestions, I was ready to receive help, I was ready to share my secrets, I was ready to tell people how I was feeling and what was going on with me. And I didn't do it like gracefully, like it was a light switch and everything was better. Like it was very much a process. And I learned from a lot of mistakes, because mistakes are okay. It's okay to make mistakes. Like if you're making new mistakes, you're doing really good. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to make mistakes. And, but I don't think for anybody, like it's just a one and done and we're all healed or cured, like it's never that. And that's okay. It's good
Right.
to not be cured.
When you were saying that, I was thinking about like the stages of change model, which I know some of us know. And what's your like thought process on like the functional addict or the functional user? Do you believe there's truth in that, or do you feel like
Mm.
it always ends up in a negative way?
That is a very good question. So, if it's okay, I would like to just share a little bit about the stages of change for the people who don't know what that
Absolutely.
means. So, you can actually
Mhm.
just Google if you want the stages of change, or look it up on YouTube, and it talks about the different stages. There's 5 stages of change, and actually 6 if you include relapse, because that is a part of the stages of change. And so,
Yes.
it talks about being in pre-contemplation, or that's the equivalency of like denial, when you're not ready. And then you get into a point of contemplation where you kind of know, like, hey, I got a problem here, but I'm not really ready
Mhm.
to work on it yet. And so you're aware of it, but you're not there yet. And
Yeah.
then you get into a planning stage where you're like, okay, I know I have a problem and I want to do something about it, but I haven't done anything yet. And so you're
Yeah.
planning, like, maybe I'm calling detox and seeing if they have a bed open, or maybe I'm letting a friend know how I'm feeling. So you're
Mhm.
planning that. The next stage is the action stage. And that is where you actually take action and you go to detox, or you go to treatment, or you go, to receive some help. You go to therapy or a meeting or something, like you go to receive some help from somewhere. And then once you've gotten through the action stage, you go to the maintenance stage. And the maintenance stage is where you're actually like doing daily maintenance, taking care of your recovery. You're living in recovery. You're doing the things that you need to do to be healthy and well.
Mhm.
Then relapse can come in at any point in time during the stages of change.
Yes.
And, once that happens, you just get right back on the horse and you start that cycle again, and you may not start in pre-contemplation. You might relapse and then go straight to action, so it's not linear, and it's more circular, like we're always in this wheel of
Right.
healing, wheel of recovery.
What do you think about the termination stage?
No, but I'm interested to know more.
So, in general, the termination stage is based on a stage where the individual will develop like a very powerful, strong mindset where they no longer have the desire to again return to their unhealthy behaviors or going back to their addiction or drug addiction. They are like 100% in their mind not going to relapse, where they 110% embrace their new lifestyle. And the urge is not even in their brain, their soul, in their body to even use again. So, since this is rarely reached, people tend to just again stay in the maintenance stage just because it's safer for them. And again, the stage is not encouraged. So,
I think it's very individualized for each person, right? And even in the AA book, it talks about people being recovered. Like once they've worked their 12 steps, they're recovered, not recovering, And so
Yes.
essentially, like I believe, and, this is just my own personal feelings about myself and my recovery. I believe that I will never pick up a substance again. I have no desire to use. I know what will happen if I do. I know it's not going to solve anything. I truly believe that I won't pick up
Yes.
again. However, for me, still have to maintain my wellness journey and my recovery journey. And for me, it's more about giving back and being of service and staying connected to the community. That's my maintenance. But even if it's not just for recovering from drugs, I want to still continue to be the best person that I can be and maintain my mental wellness. And so I think that's what works for me. But that doesn't mean that somebody can't, go through a battle with drugs and alcohol and then completely change their life, know what to do and move forward. Like I think that could work too.
Absolutely. Yep. I think like one of the greatest things is also, again, getting that support system around you, people that love about you, care about you.
Yeah, having a healthy environment is very important. I agree.
hey, I've been meaning to ask you though, what was your first job in the recovery field?
So this is the first time, and I wouldn't even say it's necessarily in the recovery field, is more of just like helping others, like so a helping profession. But as soon as I got out of treatment, I right away knew that I wanted to help other people. And so literally like when I got out of treatment, I already had a service commitment where I would go once a month to a place called Mothers and Infants, and I would just, be there for the women, share my story. Like I knew that I wanted to turn my pain into purpose. And so right away I got involved with helping other people. And then I got a new service commitment at the detox where I would go every Friday for 18 months straight. Then I got a different service commitment at the jail, and I would go to the jail on a regular basis. And so even before this job, like I was just very involved in my community, and I still am, and in helping people, and so when this opportunity came, like I knew I was ready to do that as a career. And I'm glad that I waited, because when I first got clean, I wanted to get into a helping profession right away. And a very good friend of mine, a mentor, my sponsor, she suggested that I wait a little while. And I'm glad that I did, because I did enough service work and, supported enough people in my recovery that when I started this work, I was ready. And I mean, like I was ready with my home work life balance. Like I was ready with my kids have been with me for a while and we have our own balance. I was ready with my marriage, but everything in my life had become settled. You know what I mean? So I was ready to take on this career, Yeah, I'm glad I waited.
They require you to be 2 years substance free before you get into the recovery field.
So yes, in a way they do. So in Florida, they require you to be 2 years in recovery, but they don't prescribe what recovery looks like. So it doesn't mean 2 years of continuous recovery. You could have had a relapse in between, or what 2 years in recovery to you may look different than what 2 years in recovery looks like to me. So it can be very different for everybody, but they do typically like you to be 2 years in recovery. But yeah, so if that's something that you're interested in, if you're interested in helping other people, I would encourage you to get involved in your community and start doing that in different ways where you, start doing service work like I did, or volunteer at the shelter or at a treatment center, or volunteer somewhere and kind of get your feet wet and start learning what your boundaries are and continue your wellness journey. Then eventually you can get to the point where you're ready to step into a career and be able to help other people professionally. And there's a lot of different pathways to do that. You can go back to school, or you can you can work like as a resident monitor of a treatment center, or you can become a certified recovery peer specialist, or you can sit on an advisory committee or an advisory board, there's so many ways to get back, whether you want to do that personally or professionally.
Well, everyone, that was part 1, the path and journey to recovery. Again, an enormous special thanks to Sonya for being an awesome, amazing special guest. I cannot wait to have her on again. And please stay tuned for part 2, the path and journey to recovery. I just want to thank all of my listeners for your support, and just to inform everyone that the information expressed in this episode was not meant to be taken as therapeutic advice. If you do find yourself struggling with any type of mental health or addiction issues, please seek the care of a medical doctor or a licensed mental health therapist. And if anyone has any further questions for me, you can reach me at my email address, behaviorhealthintegration121@gmail.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Jacob Minig, where you will find more educational posts on psychotherapy, trauma, and addiction. And finally, you can follow me on my website, which is behaviorhealthintegration.org. I also want to inform everyone that there is a great new device out there called CalmiGo. It's a breathing device meant to control and manage your breathing rates and the depth of your breathing as you inhale and exhale to, again, help relieve any type of anxiety and stress-like symptoms. And if you do put the BHI podcast into the promo code, you get $30 off this amazing device. It is a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and you will not be disappointed. All right, everyone, until next time, have a good day. Bye.